Sagitoen e kwami o wichitoen
ai heiwa so shite chowa
E aloha mai ia o.
avo tuta l'umanità
and not the Gypsy
Sarangyang wajua Rakas rau haya harmonia
Welcome, everyone. Happy to see you here. And I can't see those of you on Facebook, but welcome anyway. I'm Terry McGill, and I'm coming to you live. Sorry, I find myself quite funny sometimes. I'm coming to you live from Portland, Oregon, where it's only 7 o'clock at night. So tonight, and let me bring up my PowerPoint. Oops, I did it the wrong way. I have to click on share screen first. I do it backwards half the time. There we go. So tonight is about how to transform grief and sadness. And the things that we really want to start and address with at the very beginning is how long, if we've been experiencing grief or sadness, how long has it been going on? Second question is, how strong is it? And those are two very important questions. If it's been going on for more than a year, my understanding is it's considered chronic. It's very strong, then we do need professional help at times. I say we, that's the editorial we, it means may not. So the question I have for everyone is, have you had professional help? Don't answer it. Just, consider this in your mind. Or are you in treatment at the time? I remember something that I heard many years ago, changed my mind about therapy. It's like you don't have to be sick to get better. And that was a new one for me. It's like, oh, okay. So at the time I said, I'm going to turn myself in because there were a couple things that I just couldn't deal with myself adequately. So then the third question that I'll go more deeply into is, do we need, at this time, professional help? And the reason is, if we need professional help, if you're on Zoom, we're going to post the Zoom, if you're on Facebook, we're going to post the Zoom link, because there's something in the psychological world that's called catharsis. And it's when we have a big shift, a change. And so the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. I don't know if we were on Facebook before.
It's Facebook is what it's going to. Yeah, I was supposed to, but then it dropped us. I apologize, Terry.
No problem. Well, let's go back up here to the first slide then, for those of you that have just joined us on Facebook. Tonight is about how to transform grief and sadness. And I'm Terry McGill. KYLH means Kuan Yin lineage holder. It's one of the empowerments that I've received. So we're coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. And regarding grief and sadness, there's some key questions, especially for those of you that are on Facebook. We all want to know, how long has it been going on? What I know is I am still discovering deeper levels of sadness. I've worked through the grief over not millennium, but it felt like it, a long time. But I'm still coming up with things that it's like, wow, I've forgotten about that. Today, 2 relationships came up. I'm in physical therapy. What's that? How come? It's because we store trauma physically. It's pretty obvious. I was in a car accident. I've got physical trauma. But that was emotional, both of those. So we store emotional stuff in our bodies. And, both of these were over 40 years ago. They decided to come up today and say, okay, you've been holding on to this and letting go. The physical part of it with the massage was really painful. A couple of times, more than a couple of times, I had to say, back off. You're pressing too hard. Those muscles aren't ready to release yet. So how long is a good question. What we're going to do tonight is I'll show you some methods that have been brought, to the world for 3,000-4,000 years, maybe longer, and in different traditions. They've come up, you might say, spontaneously. But Dr. and Master Zhigong Sha has collected information and put it together, simplified it, developed systems. And I'm going to share some tonight. I'm also going to offer a demonstration. As a Kuan Yin lineage holder, I can offer remote crown chakra blessings. And so that'll be the demonstration later on. And then for those of you who are not, who aren't the demo person, we'll have the opportunity to register for it, receive it tonight or anytime during this next week if you desire. So how long? That's something that we don't know the answer for. I was really surprised today. I had not thought about those two relationships for how long? Um, dozens of years. Yeah. So the question then comes up is, well, how strong? Well, they were not obviously very strong. They were not in my conscious awareness. And I did realize today that they were affecting me, but it wasn't a big deal. So let me get my next slide up. So that brings us to, okay, what is a big deal? So there are times when we need professional help. I had help after the accident because I had couldn't keep my balance. And it turns out that we have crystals in canals in our ear. I didn't know that. And there's this functional something or other neurologist, that reset them. And that helped me walk a lot better. But there's more. And that doctor said, well, I've used every tool that I have. What you have, you need to explore other options. She said, and I don't know any, which was like, well, it's a good thing that I've met and known and studied with Dr. and Master Shaw, because I think all of you know it's way above physical therapy, working on the matter level. It's way above chiropractic, working on the and Reiki and pranic healing and you name it, working on the energy level. It's above the mind level. It's above the heart level. It's information in scientific terms. It's the soul level in spiritual terms. So professional help. I've sought and am still receiving professional help after the car accident. So related to grief and sadness, though, that wasn't my focus. Those two today just popped up. It quite surprised me. So the question then related to grief and sadness is, have you had professional help? Or are you currently receiving professional help? So it could be a grief coach. Barb Friesen up in British Columbia. She's a wonderful woman. And there are others. Then there's the psychologists. For example, blanking on her name now. Down in Lower California. Anyway, and then there's medical assistants, psychiatrists, for example, because at times the grief can be intense enough that they use medication, and you have to be a licensed MD, and a psychiatrist has gone past MD into a higher level. So had or have or need. So that's a consideration. And so what we ask those of you who are on Facebook is, you should see the link, the Zoom registration, and it should be somewhere on whatever device you're watching with on Facebook. We're going to close Facebook because there needs to be a safe container. I've been getting this guidance for 2 days, stronger and stronger. And because there's a thing in psychology called catharsis. It means change, and usually means an emotional change. And those can be sudden, unexpected, and very strong. So for most of us, no big issue, or I would not be doing this, offering this. However, it needs to be in what's called a safe container. I've asked my Kuan Yin lineage holder transmission to create that to hold everyone that's in the Zoom room safely. I can't do that on Facebook. Why? I don't know. That's what I heard. So please join us on Zoom. And for those of you who are on Zoom, as soon as Holly lets me know that Zoom is closed, then we'll move on.
Zoom or Facebook has been closed.
Say again, please.
Facebook has been closed now.
Wonderful. Thank you. And the reason I have to ask twice is there's this car accident. I had never heard of it, but I experienced airbag concussion. Like what? Well, when all of the airbags went off, not airbag, ear concussion by airbags, yeah. When they go off, they explode. I mean, they have to open up in a fraction of a second, and they're life-saving. I also have lost 35 decibels of hearing in my left ear. The right ear is unchanged. I had a test done back in July of last year. So, fortunately, there was a baseline. But I was really amazed. My wife has to yell at me if I don't have my hearing aids in now. Thank God for hearing aids. But I don't hear as clearly as I used to. And that has something to do that nobody I've been working with has figured out yet, except for those of you who know about transmissions and rainbow light ball liquid spring and soul operations. I've received, and I need to practice more. What's the phrase? Tien Ren Gaban. I haven't done enough of my part. However, enough of that. Let's move on. So, who are some of the professionals out there? Grief coaches, I mentioned those, counselors, and psychiatrists. And unless we need professional help, if we do, we can use these methods that's been given to us by Dr. and Master Shah as complementary. They work with whatever we're receiving from a grief coach or a counselor or a psychiatrist. If you're under care, then I really would ask that you check with your grief coach, counselor, or psychiatrist before continuing. And the reason is, I'm not a licensed psychological or medical person. I don't diagnose, I don't guarantee change. What I'm going to do, love the ability to fix typos. What I'm going to do is complementary. It works with other things, or it's alternative. It's a spiritual method. So, with spiritual methods, I think you all know that the only way to know if something is successful is, are we experiencing a positive change or a negative change? And you may be going, wait a minute, what? Any change is an indication that what we're doing is having an effect. I remember some years back when my physical symptoms got worse in my in my mind. This is worse. This stuff's not working. And then, we receive the knowledge, the deeper wisdom that it's like when we get a cold or the flu. Well, let's say with a cold, the those are specific symptoms. And I learned that cold symptoms are the way that the body cleanses itself. I ate wrong. I didn't exercise enough. And so my body needs to clean itself out. And I've got to set aside a week and do a liver cleanse also. But there's no guarantees because we don't know and can't know what's going to happen from something. So I mentioned this before, but I wanted to put it up here right on the screen. So if you are being treated, grief coach, doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, then please leave now, because they need to know and you need to communicate with them if you're going to use the techniques that I'm going to share. Thank you. So the first technique, I think you're all familiar with, say hello. I think it's on page 30 of Soul, Mind, Body Medicine book, the thick paperback. It was published about 2006. And it's got the 5 parts. And you probably know them. And so we say, hello, dear my, in this case, grief and sadness. I love you. You have the power to heal and transform. Do a good job. Thank you. Now, you see this slide right here. If we're standing in ankle-deep water and it's that calm and we're holding a surfboard, we're going to have to wade out further and there's no waves. And so, you know, what I just said was probably adequate. However, what if we're snorkeling? Oops, that didn't work well. So let me reverse that. So here's the snorkeling one. So this person's underwater, not very much. He's got that snorkel, and you can see the parts of it there. Snorkeling is pretty safe. That person, I don't know if it's a male or female, I can't tell that much, but you know, they're probably pretty calm. This picture didn't work well either. So this is of a surfer on the shore side of a big wave. That's a big wave, and that looks like the shore right there. What I've read about, because I've been fascinated with surfing. My son surfed. I did not. And what I know is if you're on a wave, on a surfboard, on a wave like that, you are completely present. Oops. Let's go back one more. And if you aren't, that didn't work either. Trying to grab this one. Here we go. So if you aren't 100% present, it's not working like I wanted it to. You may wind up underwater. This one here. And so we need to connect more deeply with the say hello greeting. We need to feel it. If we say it like, you know, dear divine, or dear my grief and sadness, I love you. You have the power to heal and transform me. Do a good job. Thank you. That's mostly in my head. So we need to say it like we mean it. Look at this slide here. I expanded this one correctly. This is what it's like. That surfboard, part of it's underwater. And look at how much vertical above that. This person is alive. They are there. They are present. They're not going, oh, yeah, well, you know, this is not that big a wave, and yeah, whatever. They're going to be underwater. I was amazed when I did some web research, but professional surfers, the ones that we hear about or see at the events, every one of them's been to the hospital, and more than once. They've had stuff broken and, you know, concussions and more. And they were alive. They just went outside their range, their safety range. The wave was bigger, or they may have been distracted. So if we're alive, then we say, dear, my grief and sadness, I love you. I really, really love you. It has to come from our heart. And I did not know what that meant 10 years ago. Yes, I've been studying with Master Sha since 2008, but it it was all, a lot of it I'd heard, but I was in my head. We're all in our head a lot of the time to some degree. If we're going to transform, it doesn't matter if it's grief or sadness, finances, brain, hearing, it doesn't matter what it is. We've got to be more alive. And so what I want to ask you to do is practice with me saying, I love you in a deeper way. So let me go back to this slide and let's practice, please. Dear my grief and sadness. Now, if you feel something, if you feel uncomfortable, good. You've connected with something that's may not have been present before. Yeah, like those two experiences I had today. All I knew was my body was really hurting in two areas on the left-hand side, on the back. And I kept going, okay, what's going on? There's something else going on. It's not just physical. What is it? And it was like, whoa, deep sadness. I had shut myself down. So, second time, please say it with me again. Dear my grief and sadness, I love you. So let's say I love you 3 times and see if you can experience the difference. I love you. That was mostly from my head. Dear my grief and sadness, I love you. That was about, I'm just doing a little reading. It's like I'm about 98% heart. But the heart is unlimited in its ability to open. So one more time with me, please. Dear my grief and sadness, I love you. I really, really love you. You have the power to heal and transform. Do a good job. Thank you. So you may say, because I did, I can't get that alive. I mean, look, that's a relatively gentle wave there. Not like that other one that we were looking at. Oops, that's not it. Where is that other one? No, I can't find it. It didn't matter. So when we say to ourselves, and it may not be in these words, it may not be even in words, because this is what I have done. I've gone, gee, I need to go to the kitchen and get a drink of water. And then, gosh, on the way back, I better stop at the bathroom. Oh, look at the cat. Cat needs a little water too. I used to do stuff like that for 2 hours. And then I would come back and sit down in my study and go, oh, I was meditating. I'm supposed to do 2 hours a day, and I did 8 minutes. So it takes focus, experience, help, and if we connect with the Tao, we can do it. So how do we add Tao power? You know how. We can use the Da-I, greatest love, calligraphy. If you don't have a book, then there's pictures on the web. I was amazed when I saw somebody's Facebook post with pictures I don't think they should have been posting on Facebook. But they were on the web. Because I went on the web and I checked Tao calligraphy, and it's like, my gosh, 15 powerful calligraphy pictures. So when we get a picture, then we say what we want. We've just done that. Dear, my grief and sadness, I love you. You have the power to heal and transform. What I recommend that you do is pick one little sadness to start with. That's practice time for tonight. Please. So we say what we want. So I'm going to take the second of those two relationships from today, and dear, my sadness around that relationship. Both of them had an end that I didn't want. So that one, it was before I met my wife, incidentally, just for clarity. So say what you really want. Dear, my sadness related to that relationship. You have the power to heal and transform. Do a good job. Thank you. And then we have to repeat until we succeed. Master Shah's given us a phrase. So I'm going to put that here. I need to scroll this down, get less. Yeah, there we go. So the phrase is Tien Ren Ge Ban. Tien is heaven, Ren is human. So Ge means each, and Ban is half. So heaven does half. We need to do half also. So we need to practice. We need to repeat it. If we haven't transformed it, if I don't transform this, if it still keeps coming up, no, I haven't done my half yet. It's really that simple. I've learned that in these years with Master Shah. And then every time we do a practice, it's really important to say thank you. So we've got to connect with Tao, because if we just use our own personal power, it's going to take us many, many lifetimes. Work with a therapist. It can go sooner, but how deep do they go? One of the one world-renowned talk therapist said, and writing in a therapist magazine, he said, talk therapy only goes down about 40%. And I went, I knew it. Because I wasn't healed. Let me catch up to my slides. Yeah, so here's a calligraphy, and we said hello. We've gone through this. So we're not there yet. Where's the one I want? Oh, okay, yes, here's the one I want. I am going to bring up a calligraphy, and most of you will recognize it. Share screen. Here we go. So, yeah, and let me shrink this down. This is the back of the Tao Calligraphy Healing Field book. If you're not familiar with the book, it's awesome. It has 20 animations in it for every aspect of life. And some of them have 3 different levels, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's an incredible book. But why am I showing you the back of it? Master Sha puts on the back of, I think, all of his books now, these, it may not be a calligraphy, it'll probably be his picture. And he puts a special blessing into the book and a more powerful one into the back. So this Da-I calligraphy it will increase the power of our exercise. It'll bring the results faster. No guarantees. Remember, Tien, Ren, Gaban. This calligraphy, this Tao calligraphy, so Tao is source, creator. And so, this is Tien, heaven. Tien, Ren, Gaban. We're Ren. We're the human part. Gaban, each 50-50 or half. So we, as much as we ask, and we do need to say hello to this. We've already said hello to grief and sadness or whatever you're choosing. We'll do it again. But we also need to say hello to that. We need to connect. That's the deeper meaning of saying hello. So it's the same formula with one exception. If we're doing a say hello greeting, the 5-step part with it to ourselves, part 4 is we send an order. Do a good job. That's a soul order to the grief or the sadness or whatever we're working with that's in us. Or dear my kidneys, or dear my left knee, whatever it is. You have the power to heal yourself. Do a good job. Thank you. So do a good job is an order. Please don't order. Won't do you any good, but please don't try to order. Oops, should not have been paused. I did something wrong. I tried to move a bar. So let's go back, share screen, and go back up here. Because come on, move up. There we go. So let's go back to here. So please choose one gentle sadness. Please don't deal with grief. You can do that later. This is practice time. And I know some of you are pretty experienced. Please practice with a gentle sadness with me. You can do the big stuff later. So for me, it's sadness related to that relationship that disintegrated. So, dear, my sadness about that. So I'm talking to the soul of the sadness. Everything has a soul. Sadness, it's an emotion. It has a soul. Imagine my surprise when I heard that. I didn't believe it at first. It was completely outside anything I'd ever heard of. Like, what do you mean? But then the more I did the practices, the more I felt it, the more I experienced it. So, dear, my sadness, I love you. You have the power to heal and transform. Do a good job. Thank you. So that's when we send a soul order to our grief and sadness. But when we're when we're addressing the Da'ai calligraphy or anything outside of ourselves, even our cat that lays on the kitchen stove if we bake something in the oven because it's warm. I don't send a soul order to him. I kind of pull him off. He's heavy. So what we do with the Tao calligraphy is, dear, the Tao calligraphy, Da I love you. You have power far beyond my comprehension, but I know that you can heal my sadness. That's my request. Thank you. So how is that enough? I didn't do anything except say that it had the power to do that. Well, would you remember that everything has a soul? Would you believe that the Da'ai calligraphy has a soul also? And there's a characteristic of all souls. All souls desire to serve. And so with something like one of the 10 greatest qualities of Tao, of nature, when we get up to the angelic and the Buddha and the saint level and higher, all we have to do is ask. And they're going to give us whatever we ask for as long as it's good for us. If it's not, you might get it if you really push, but then you might get a big lesson too. So we're going to get a blessing because we ask for it, because that's a universal law. That's an aspect. That's what Tao Source does. I really, really want to heal. Could you give me a blessing? Thank you. Of course. Yeah. So once we've said hello to it, we don't have to trace it. We don't have to hold our hands out to it. We don't even have to look at it. In fact, if we're looking at it, our energy, if our eyes are open, our energy is draining out. One of the practices I do, the instructions are, close your eyes slightly. Why? So I don't have so much attention directed outside. If it's directed outside, sorry, cough syrup break. This is because of that session today. I was amazed. Why would my throat be hurting? I'm purifying. So if you close your eyes, and I invite you to, so that's part of mind power. The other part is, imagine, let's use body power first. So if you place one palm on the center of your chest, over the heart chakra, the breastbone, and just imagine in the center of your body, if you've got third eye open, wonderful. You'll see the light. I usually don't. So it's like, okay, there's a sphere of energy in there, of light. I know it. Sometimes I've seen it. It was hard before I could see. I just didn't believe. So one hand over the heart chakra, please place and face the palm facing the body, and the other palm just below your navel or on your navel. Dear my heart chakra, I love you too. You're the center for transformation of all life. Could you give me a blessing for this, whatever your choice is? Also, thank you. Paul Fletcher calls this stacking. We just keep adding things. The more we add, the better. Because it gets the mind out of the way. At first, we're using the mind, but after a while, the mind's overloaded, which is a good thing. Mind needs to be out of the way. Mind can't heal above a certain level. So body power, mind power, please close your eyes and imagine a sphere of purest light in the center of your body, heart chakra. And know that with every in-breath, we receive a fresh infusion of life force. Every in-breath, imagine it comes into the center of your chest. Just gets bigger in there. Lighter, brighter. Now on the exhale, just say, "Dear my mind, I love you." Turn off fully and completely for the entire exhale. Rest and recharge. Thank you. So the mind doesn't need to know. But the mind needs to have something to do. So we start by giving it something to do, and then we tell it on the exhale to turn off, and then it knows we're going to turn it back on, so it trusts us. So it'll pause for a while. And it's okay to have a blank mind. And now let's say again, "Dear my sadness, whatever yours is, I love you. Look who has come to heal you. Feel, perceive, sense the Tao calligraphy. Da, I, is sending pure yang. No contamination. It's one of the 10 greatest qualities of nature, of Tao, of Source. And it lives to serve. Every inhale, just imagine a fresh infusion of life force, light, coming into your heart chakra. And we have records, positive and negative, in our heart chakra. I just checked, and yes, my sadness memory from that relation, the emotion is not the memory, it's the emotion. For me, I just checked. It's like, yeah, it's true. And it's transforming already. That's with my eyes open. Imagine what it would be like with closed eyes. Dear Da I, calligraphy, thank you so much. Gratitude is so important. I see posts about the power of gratitude on Facebook, because I've got like a whole bunch of friends, Facebook friends, and they post different things, and they're from all walks of life. And the ones that have some kind of a transformative life, whatever they call it, they post about the power of gratitude. And I'm saying that I don't know everybody here, but most of us have been studying with Dr. and Master Sha. Gratitude. Yeah, this is Marilyn Smith's book, the song, gratitude, 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 gratitude. Gratitude changes my life, my life. Gratitude changes my life, my life. Gratitude changes my life. Yeah. She wrote that book about 2016, somewhere back in there. Yeah. So experience gratitude, not with the mind. connect with something, it can be really basic. I have a device that allows me to connect from wherever I am in the world to this guy in Portland, Oregon. How awesome is that? In the 1940s, there was a Dick Tracy comic book, and Dick Tracy had a watch that showed pictures and spoke to him if somebody had one and was talking into it. 1940 and this is what, 80 years now from then. We live in an age of miracles. In fact, years ago, I was in a workshop that was taught by an MD. She'd had a Kundalini awakening experience. When the type that she had happens, your life transforms so much that you can't function normally, whatever normally is. It's just all of a sudden, all of the blockages are cleared. And she had recovered. She couldn't practice medicine anymore. She just quit. And she came down to Portland. I think she's somewhere up in Washington, Seattle or somewhere. And she was sharing, for us to be alive, for a baby to be born, it's not just a miracle. It's about who knows how many hundred miracles. And she detailed about 15 of them. I'd never heard of stuff like this. If this doesn't happen, before that happens, the forming fetus dies. If this doesn't happen, that doesn't happen. And there's no fetus. And so much can go wrong. It's like, wow, every one of us here, we're walking, talking miracles. And what's really amazing, what's the power of the Tao, of Source? There are 8.3 billion incarnated humans on Earth. How many miracles? Let's say there's only 100 for each one. So that's 800 billion miracles. And that's just the Earth. Huh. We're this tiny little planet way out on the edge of somewhere. And there's a whole bunch of other planets that the scientists are telling us can support life like us. What if it isn't a carbon-based life form? Oh, so there could be beings with consciousness that totally unlike us. This could be silicon-based. I have no idea what that would look like. I just know that I'm alive, and it's a miracle. You're alive. It's a miracle. We're all gathered here, and that's a bunch of miracles, because none of us would be here if we hadn't gone through a whole bunch of incarnations and transformed an awful lot to even be interested in this. You can ask any therapist you run across, how many people come to see a therapist to transform grief and sadness? Yeah, 1 in 100,000? And they might say, I'm hearing, probably not. So we're miracles. So we can honor that. We can say, dear, use your term. God, divine, Yahweh, Allah, Tao, source. And there's a whole bunch of other terms for the unknowable. I have a friend who's an Indian healer. They don't like the term Native American. It's Indian. I honor that. And I sent him a Da-I card because he'd sent me a book he wrote. And he put it on his altar. Why? Well, he knew that it was sacred. I didn't tell him. So each of us are sacred. And this calligraphy, I invite you to open your eyes again and just look at, yeah, thank you, Master Shah. So grateful for bringing over 30 books. The last count I heard over 108 calligraphies, but he's done a whole bunch more since I heard that number. And thank you, Da-I, the first and foremost of the 10 greatest qualities of Tao. I am so grateful. Thank you.